Welcome back to 214 Square. It's our third episode, and we are recording this video on October 11th. In today's episode, we will first look at the new poll from New York City. We then move on to New Jersey, New York's neighbor, and look at the state of the race. We then move south to Virginia, where two ladies are competing to become the next governor. Then we go to the Capitol and look first at whom America blames for the shutdown, before we look at the president's approval polls and the demographics behind his approval rate. We start with New York City in the Northeast, America's largest city, where the incumbent, Mayor Adams, recently dropped out. Due to Eric Adams's withdrawal from the election, the situation has changed, but not the currently most likeliest income. Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani now has 46 percentage points, lost one. The Republican Curtis Sliwa gained 4 points, now at 15. And former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo now has 33%, up 4 points. In the last episode, we talked about the possible voter shifts after Adams's dropout and look at a poll from Quinnipiac in September. The shifts were relatively precise, with the largest deviation visible when we look at Mamdani and Sliwa, who are respectively 3 points higher than now. But since the poll a month already has passed by, in our chart we can see that Mamdani keeps a score at around 46 percentage points. While the two remaining candidates benefit from the dropout, Cuomo is the winner of the mayor's decision and can reduce the gap between him and his challenger from the Democratic primaries. From New York City, you can not only see New Jersey, but also go there by car, crossing the state border in the city's west. However, the numbers remain the same as last week. Sherrill leads her Republican contender Ciattarelli by 2 points. There are no new polls since last week, which is a pity due to the tight race, as you can see in the chart. That's why we are now going straight to Virginia. And here, in one of America's founding states, we got new numbers. Former Democratic Congresswoman Spanberger would currently have a majority of the votes with 52%, while Lieutenant Governor Earle-Sears would get 43 percentage points. In our chart, we can see that the new numbers put a dent for Earle-Sears, who recently reduced the gap to Spanberger. That's why we will use the opportunity next time to analyze Virginia and its past elections and demographics. Now it's time to look north. Between Virginia and Maryland, we have the America's capital, Washington, D.C., and there we look at the polls about the shutdown and Trump's approval ratings. The current government shutdown is now 11 days old. The longest shutdown in U.S. federal history was 34 days long and spanned from before Christmas 2018 till the last third of January 2019. When asking American voters who they are blaming or blaming the most for the shutdown, we get the following answer. In a nationwide poll conducted by YouGov, almost 44% mostly blame the Republican Party and President Trump, 32% the Democrats in Congress. The remaining 25% blame both. A Virginia poll by PPP shows a different picture. Fewer voters blame both parties, but either the Republicans and President Trump with 47% or Democrats with 38%. If we look at the blaming for the shutdown by party ID, we see blamings for the opponent party along party lines with more self-criticism among Republican voters than Democrats. For elections interesting are independent voters who are more mobile between the party camps than those with party affiliation. While more independent voters blame Republicans more for the shutdown than Democrats, the YouGov poll shows first a huge difference between blaming for Republicans rather than Democrats, and also a huge group who blames both, while the Harvard-Harris poll shows both parties between close together with 8 points difference. The Harvard-Harris poll, however, only offered the two-party options rather than offering both as a third option. The president's job approval rating remains underwater and worsened slightly in week 41 in comparison to the week before. Let's jump straight into the job approval ratings by demographics. Last time we covered ethnicity and gender. Today we look at the age groups. We are again using YouGov polls, which were consistent in the questions and the data provided. The first age group is the one of adults between 18 and 29 years. What we can see here is that Trump started with some credit, which, as we will see, doesn't appear anywhere else. We can see that the net approval started at 5% in February, but then rapidly lost, and today it is around 39 and 40%. The number of those who strongly disapproved Trump's job doubled. The number of strong approvals halved once, but recovered since then. The next age group are voters between 30 and 44. Here Trump started similar strong, but with fewer voters unsure about him, but more disapproving. The number of approving voters in this age group almost lost a quarter. Unsure voters halved. By 17%, the number of disapproving voters increased to over 60%. The group of voters between 45 and 64 years started with favorable, approving opinions of the president. 50 to 44, 6% undecided. This numbers have changed slightly. Trump lost 4 points approval, but disapproval only increased slightly, unlike what we have seen in the group before. In the last group, the one of voters at 65 and older, voters were divided at the beginning with 48 to 49 and 4% undecided. Since them, unsure voters halved, and those who disapprove the president's job gained 5%, now at 54. The voters who approve the president's job are at 44%. In summary, we see that the two youngest voting groups are the one who disapprove Trump's job performance the most, while the two oldest approve his job the most. But overall, the net approval everywhere is negative. In the next fourth episode, we will look at voter demographics in Virginia. We look further in how voters approve Trump's job, and we want to learn which issues are most important for voters in New York City. This was 24010 Square for this week. Thank you for watching, and see again you next week.